project for Blake and I. We've been wanting to do something like this for years. We are in love with Italy, but going into the south of Italy is an entirely different world. And the Italians would tell you that as well. The Italians very much classify themselves whether they're northern or they're southern. And the south of Italy has a unique charm to it. It's like another country, and really, we'll talk about it when we talk about Naples. For most of the last 1,000 years, it has been another country. It was only in the 1800s that they all got unified into one country called Italy. But before that time, the South had its own distinct character. And we call the tour Undiscovered Italy because there's something so exciting about going to places that haven't had the worn path of tourism yet. And there's something of discovery on your own that even for us, when we go to new places, that thrill feels so real to be in a place that hasn't already, been plotted out for you. Our goal with this trip is to take you to places that are off the beaten path, to go into the heart of southern Italy, to have a unique cultural experience of this land that is just bursting with vitality. And we think that you're really going to like it. We want to prepare you for the experience so that you can make the most of it, because when you go off the beaten path, you go off the beaten path. And we want, I think if you understand exactly what the trip is laid out before you, you're each going to be able to appreciate it to its fullest. Now, this is Matera, and we will get to Matera in a bit, but there's really no other place.
That was my first question. That looks like Matera.
Yes, it is. We'll talk about it in a minute, but our goal with this trip is to give you 3, or if you're coming on the extension, 4 very distinct experiences. Each leg of our journey is going to be unique from the one that came before it. And so we want to take you to 3 entirely different places, starting in Naples and experiencing Campania, the region of Naples, then going to Matera, right in the center of the Italian mainland, and then going into the heel of the boot of Italy, which is called Puglia, or Apulia, where we'll stay at a countryside masseria, which is like a kind of a fortified farm. And then those going on the extension, we will go to Sicily to relax in style at the end of the trip. We'll get to that in a minute. But let me begin this. At the end, we're going to be handing you out a packet. It has the itinerary written out day by day. So no need to take notes. If you have questions, we can answer them as we go along too. So don't hesitate to ask questions while we're there. Well, our trip is going to begin in the city of Naples. And let's see if it switches for us.
Lovely city.
I know.
Off to a weird start. My TV may have gone to sleep on. Oh, there you go.
There we got it.
So this is actually the view from the balconies of the rooms that we have built around.
Oh, wow.
Naples, I have a little secret love affair with the city of Naples. It is a place that was described to me by some Romans. It was actually Carlo's daughter, who they'll be staying with before the trip, said, Naples, that's where the real Italians live. And it is a city unique on the planet. There's no other place like Naples. As I said, it was the capital city of its own nation for some 600 years. And Naples is so many things, and we're going to try and delve into what that means. It is a intriguing place, beguiling place. The old line used to be, see Naples and die, meaning that you can see Naples and then end your life because you've seen the most beautiful city on the planet. The Neapolitans are full of life. They are known for singing, they're known for eating, they're known for being joyous. They're not known for working hard necessarily. They're not known for being like the Milanese who are productive in their suits and coats and ties every day. This is a different kind of city. It is the capital of the South. If you're going to visit southern Italy, you almost have to start in Naples because that's the center city of it. And Naples is wild. It really is a wild city. We're talking about the big city versus the countryside. We're going to start you in the big city and work you to the countryside. And after Naples, you'll be ready for the countryside. But when we're in Naples, we have a great hotel that's located along the most iconic spot, the Lungomare of Naples, the classic seafront. And so this is your view. It is a very serene calm amidst the storm that is Naples. And we won't be here on a Sunday, but on Sundays it's loaded with families strolling. You see all of these fish restaurants. This is where we're going to have our opening meeting, actually, and our first dinner. And people spill out into the open air to enjoy life. This is actually where the city was founded by the Greeks some 2,700 years ago. This little island that we'll be looking at from our hotel. If it changes, I have a photo here. Yeah, this is our hotel from that island looking back. So this is Hotel Santa Lucia. And if you were able to look just off in this direction here, what you would see, which dominates all of Naples, is Mount Vesuvius. And to me, this is the emblem of Naples. They live in the shadow of one of the most notoriously dangerous volcanoes of all time. And I think that just tints the way that they see the world. When you have Mount Vesuvius hovering over you at all times, it changes your perspective. But it's beautiful. The Bay of Naples, it's where all the Romans used to go on holiday. It's a classic, most beautiful areas of Naples. Now, we're going to arrive. Many of you are getting in on the morning. Those who do, we can help you get oriented, get a SIM card if you want to have data. And then our first activity that evening is to gather together and do what we're doing now, drink wine at one of the seaside cafes, and then our touring will begin the next day. So on day 3 of the itinerary, we will begin touring by doing a walking tour of the city of Naples from our hotel. This will be our heaviest walking day, but again, I think it's best to get it in the very beginning of the trip while you still have your energy. And we're going to take you to the big sites, we're going to take you to small sites as well. This is just around the corner from our hotel. This is the big square of Naples, built in the late 1800s. With anyone think it looks like a copy of excuse me, in Rome, the Pantheon in Rome, the giant domed temple from ancient Rome. That's exactly what it is. It's plagiarized. And the old Bourbons used to have a palace right on the other side. We are going to see this first. We're going to stop in a cafe and have Neapolitan coffee. They're famous for their coffee. That's where we'll have our orientation meeting to life in southern Italy. And then we'll continue up the main street of town. We're going to stop in one of the art museums on the side for a small visit, primarily because they have this world-famous Caravaggio there, the Martyrdom of St. Ursula. And then we're going to go into an area that you generally don't see a lot of groups. This is the Spanish Quarter of Naples. But when my first visit to Naples, I stayed at a hotel right on the border and I walked through the Spanish Quarter for the first time. And it is its own world. It is the densest place in all of Europe. 5 stories high of people living one on top of each other. You can see a lot of these are households, and you can look in and see a living room, a bed, a kitchen, all in one room, and the families spilling their life out onto the streets. And so it gives you a sense that it's not a particularly affluent area, but it's in the heart of Naples, and to me it sums up what makes their culture so unique. You'll never be lonely if you live in the city of Naples. We're going to take you through and you'll see some of the street markets in the Spanish Quarter. We'll take just a quick detour through there. And then we're going to go to the Historic Center. And the Historic Center is famous for the Neapolitan Baroque. When you want glitz and glam and everything done up to the nines, go to Naples, because they spare no expense when they build their churches. They're grander. You know, you go to Florence and everything's Renaissance and refined. No, Naples, throw everything in and go big or go home. And so we will go through the Historic Center of Naples. We're going to have a lunch I was talking about with homemade marinara sauce, ragu sauce that's to die for. And then that evening, we'll go back to our hotel, have a little time to rest along the waterfront, and that evening we're going to walk just around the corner along the water, where we will get to participate in something that I'm very excited about. Our first dinner will be pizzas that we make ourselves.
Yes.
And believe you me, you can make pizza as good as the Neapolitans. If you do it with them, this will come out tasting unlike anything you've had here. We just went to our favorite pizza restaurant in town, and I had to comment that it's not Naples. You really can't find this kind of crust anywhere. The crust is to die for. And you'll get your opportunity to make the crust, to put on your toppings, to wood fire it yourself. It's a very fun experience that we're excited to share with you for our first dinner tour. Well, the next day is a day that we're just thrilled about. It is going to 2 very off the beaten path islands off the coast of Naples. Now everyone knows the island of Capri off Naples. This is the sister island to Capri that nobody goes to. And the village here in Procida is one of the most picture-perfect places that I've ever been to. And it's still primarily a fisherman's village. There are a few restaurants that open up down here on the harbor in the warmer months. But the main industry and the main people who live here are fishermen who use this harbor to go catch their livelihood from. We're going to be chartering our own private traditional boat. We'll be setting sail right from our hotel in Naples, going along the famous Naples coastline, and we'll come here to Procida, which I guarantee you 20 years from now, this will be discovered. I mean, this will become a place, but people don't do day trips here yet. And so it's this great mix of, you see a few houses that have been restored and many houses that are awaiting being restored. And it's
They have their boat in the front yard.
and they have their boat, yeah, ready to get painted for the new season. Absolutely. Procida is really beautiful. We'll have a little time in the harbor, and then we're going to have our lunch there in Procida, overlooking that view that we just.
Have lunch in Procida?
Yes, we'll have lunch there. From Procida, we're going to go to another island, which is a little more famous. It's called Ischia. And it's famous because since the Roman times, people have been vacationing here because the entire island is on top of a thermal stream. And so it is famous for its natural hot springs that spring up through the forest all across the island. And so primarily it's visited by old Neapolitan men and women who go for a thermal vacation for a week in these different spas. But the coastal towns, there's one town in particular that's a very chic town called San Angelo. This is the big castle that protects the island. We'll be coming right along this direction here. The town that I was telling you about is called San Angelo, and it was a fishing town up to about the 50s or 60s when it was nearly desolate, and it was rediscovered by Italians who would come from the weekend to use the hot springs here. And so this is San Angelo. We will be docking here in the town. I'll give you another view of it from the other side. So this is the boutiques. And then if you would like to swim, you can here at the beach right in town. Our boat will dock right here. And it's a beautiful place to spend an afternoon. If the weather works out, and if people are up for it, we can then sail right around this direction to an area called Sorgetto. And you can get into the hot springs of the waters of Ischia right off the boat. And so just here there's a cave, and coming out of the cave is a hot water spring with literally boiling water, or just beneath boiling. Blake and I didn't respect it the first time we were talking to someone like, yeah, there's a handful of tourists who get scalded every year. But they've taken these rocks and bordered them around. Now it's a very in the elements kind of little side trip from San Angelo. So those who want to, you'll see that there's a little dock over here, but you're going to have to, walk your way over some stones. But people will actually bring dinner with them. They'll bring eggs and potatoes and then cook them in the water alongside their
While
beds.
they cook their dinner.
Absolutely. So those who are interested can join me in the hot springs. Those who'd like to stay in San Angelo can shop at the boutiques there, or have a coffee, or sit by the beach. But then we will sail back to Naples as the sun is setting, and you'll have dinner on your own in Naples that night. But this is a day that we've done this ourselves. We tried to find someone who does it, and it's not the common thing. So we hired a boat ourselves, and we're very excited to share this all with you. And we have 2 days we can do it on. So if the weather is better one day than another, then we'll switch this with the next day. But we're very excited to approach it in
That's
Ischia.
awesome.
It's a world away from Naples, but it's the next island over. So
we'll be staying in Naples.
we'll
but
stay in
going
Naples
out
and do
to
this
the
as a day trip. Yeah, we'll leave about 9 in the morning, walk right onto our boat, and get back about sunset.
Also have some really interesting wines on Ischia.
Yes, it's true. They're known for their wine too.
It has very steep vineyards. I don't know if you'll be able to see them or not, but
You'll see them. You can see them in that last photo, actually. How they come. See how it's
Yeah,
terraced
that's them
here,
right
all
there.
along the sides. Ischia is, and
Yeah.
just going along the coastline is the best view of it. It's really beautiful. So that's our second full day on the itinerary.
Does it come with fireworks? Like
Yeah.
Santorini?
Bring your
That
own.
was a big surprise.
That was, yeah.
Pleasant surprise.
Yeah. We did a cruise in the Santorini caldera, and they were recreating the eruption of the island with fireworks.
Oh my
That was-
God.
It was amazing.
It was great. So our next day is a free day on the itinerary. If you would like to visit Naples on your own, we'll give you many suggestions to do that. If you would like to, we have planned a day trip to the Naples Archaeological Museum and to Pompeii. We made it optional because we know that some people have been to these sites before. If you haven't been to these sites, then of course I would highly recommend it because there's no other archaeological site on the planet like Pompeii. And trust me, I've been to many of them. There's no other museum like the Naples Archaeological Museum. It's the greatest classical museum on the planet. And a lot of people who go to Pompeii don't go to the museum because it's in Naples. It's farther away. They're on a cruise ship excursion. But if you don't go to the Naples Archaeological Museum, they took all of the best finds from Pompeii and they put them in the museum. And so that's where we'll start our day, in the Naples Archaeological Museum, where you will see some remarkable statues. This is about 20 feet tall. She is over here. And then you're also going to see an ancient art gallery. These are wall frescoes that would have been painted on the walls of the homes of the ancient people of Pompeii. And when the archaeologists came, they cut them out and they put them in frames, and they're in Naples. So you can literally walk through a 2,000-year-old art gallery and see amazing things like this. This is Theseus. He's just killed the Minotaur, you see down here. Pompeii, the museum not only has wall paintings, they have some of the best bronze statuary anywhere. They have items from daily life, the good silver sets that were in storage when the eruption occurred. It's a one-of-a-kind place, and I love showing people this museum. And then I love following it up with a trip to the site itself. And there's nothing else like Pompeii. This is one of the ancient bathhouses. You can see all of the ceiling work here and still see traces of the paint. And because this was one of the biggest buildings in Pompeii, you see that one of the residents of Pompeii tried to find refuge inside during the eruption. And one of the famous plaster casts that were
Remind me when that was?
79 AD. So right during the height of the Roman imperial age, Pompeii is preserved, and they really don't start digging it up to the 1800s. And so it's a site like no other. It's huge, and I think anyone who likes a hint of the classics is going to find Pompeii phenomenal.
And Nova has a recent show about Naples and the volcano, and how they're studying it so that they can anticipate when it will go. But one of the things that they have is they have some amazing film of the survivors and how they figured out what went on during all of that.
Yeah,
They're the people that stayed. They're the people that didn't leave, is what they said.
Yeah.
The next eruption is not in October, is it?
Not
Still
likely, but
very
they'll
much
know
an active
while they're
volcano.
there.
I will mention that part. Yeah,
They'll
it was in
know
the
while they're
brochure.
there.
No guarantees, right?
Yeah.
You have to sign a waiver.
There are 4 million people who will be affected the next time Vesuvius erupts.
Right.
So it's not any
Wow.
time. Yeah, 4 million people who will be affected by Vesuvius. Well, this will conclude our 4 nights in the city of Naples. So we like to get you in somewhere, let you relax. It's, again, a scenic place amidst the hubbub of Naples, so you'll get the best of both worlds. And the next day we'll be leaving Naples and heading deep into the interior of the Italian boot. As we do, we're going to see 2 sites on the way to the town of Matera. The first place we're going to go to is Buffalo Mozzarella Farm, which we are very excited about. We are going to be visiting a family-run buffalo farm and dairy. They have had water buffalo in this land for about 600 years, this family. They came over with the French when the French took over in the 1200s. And they've had water buffalo for centuries. In the 1900s, they built an accompanying dairy as well. So they used to just sell the milk. Now they do the entire process. And so we will meet with Filippo, who is the owner, and he will take us through the production of buffalo mozzarella that morning. Now there are many people, especially in the small towns of Italy, that won't eat buffalo mozzarella after noon because it's not fresh any longer. They want to eat it literally within an hour or 2 of it being made. And I just can't stress enough, there is no cheese like buffalo mozzarella that has just been made an hour or two before. You will literally get to see it being made during the process. They've actually agreed to delay their production for the day so that we can get there in time, so that we can watch them as they make the cheese. But you see it here in these gigantic vats as they're moving it around like I don't know what you would call it, but it's this big goopy substance here. And then you can see that as they continue to work it, they're able to pull it out into longer forms, and they can braid it, they can make balls out of it. After seeing the morning's production in the factory, we will go out and see the water buffalo, and we will see Filippo's prize buffalo. He shows buffalo as well, and so he'll tell you which ones are the ribbon winners. I think they have something like, do you remember how many they have? Hundreds. I think it's 300-400 water buffalo they have on their farm, and so it's a really interesting look at a traditional production that's unlike anything we can get here. There's, I think, one water buffalo farm in America, in California, but other than that, you can't get fresh water buffalo mozzarella. It is, and to transport it, it doesn't last very long too. So the big finale, of course, to our time at the buffalo mozzarella factory is the sampling. And so we will get to try not only buffalo mozzarella, but also the ricotta, which is really, really good, best ricotta you'll have. They'll generally give us some other kind of cheeses, some local tomatoes, and then if anyone wants, they sell buffalo milk gelato, they sell buffalo milk cakes and other pastries and things, yogurt as well. It's a great experience.
That's awesome bread also.
Yes,
By the way.
yes, exactly, yeah.
It looks pretty good.
So this will be our light lunch for the day, yes, sampling buffalo mozzarella. The first time we took a group, this was the snack before the lunch, and that was one of the big complaints. So we changed our plan on that. And then when we leave the buffalo mozzarella factory, we're going to go to one of the greatest ancient Greek archaeological sites on the planet, which is the site of Paestum. Now you don't think about it, but if you want to see the best preserved ancient Greek temples in the world, you go to Italy. Absolutely. Because what is today Greece was one small piece of the Greek civilization. So the Greeks lived all over. They lived in Sicily, they lived in southern Italy. The name Greek actually comes from the Romans calling the people of southern Italy Grecia. And so that's how they gained the name. But this is a site that predates the Parthenon of Athens. And this is only one of 3 Doric temples at the site of Paestum. And so this was a major Greek city of the 500s and 600s BC. It eventually gets turned into a Roman town. But Paestum is amazing not only because of how well preserved the temples are and how well preserved the entire city is, but it's one of the very few sites that you can go to where you can actually walk inside the temples. And so you see the people here walking inside the exterior colonnade of the temple here. So there are 3 amazingly preserved temples. It's a fantastic site, and I think you all know
Adam, did it have a roof at one time?
It did, yes, absolutely.
Is
Mhm.
that
So,
a temple?
And did it have sides?
it would have had sides right here. So there once, you see right here where it's broken?
Correct.
There would have been an entire stone wall here, but that part got pillaged. Those are the easiest stones to reuse. At one point it would have had a wooden roof with wooden trusses,
Wooden?
and so that would have burned down at some point. Yeah, to do the big ceiling trusses,
Who was
you
it
do it in wood.
Who was it a temple to?
Well, the first one that we saw was a temple dedicated to Athena. The other 2, we're not exactly sure. They've changed who they think it was. The Greek city was named in honor of Poseidon, and so that's been the general thought that it was to Poseidon. Yeah. So it's a fantastic site, and again, some of the best Greek archaeology on the planet we'll get to see in southern Italy. And then that evening, we will be arriving to Matera, and I am incredibly excited to share Matera with you all. Matera is a one-of-a-kind city. It is in competition for the oldest continually inhabited city on the planet, alongside Jericho in modern-day Israel. Matera has been inhabited since the Stone Age. And this is a view just around the corner from our hotel here. You can see that the entire city is carved into the hillside. And so if you take a look at this church right up here, you can see that it's literally, this is the Church of St. Mary of the Rocks, because the church is carved into the hill. Now, the best way to get a view of it is here, because you see that the entire city is built on the slope of a gorge. And so our hotel is right here.
Oh my God.
And so on your private terrace and in the breakfast room, you'll be overlooking this gorge. And do you see here in the distance? All these caves off in the distance. Those are the old Stone Age caves. That was the original settlement back 8,000 years ago. But since that time, people have been living in caves in Matera. It has a very interesting history. It gets prosperous at times. There's a big Greek population there. The 1700s it gets prosperous. But then starting in the 20th century, the peasant lifestyle that was here becomes more and more untenable. And so the people began to have greater and greater poverty. And really, Italy didn't know about it until one of its famous authors wrote a book about it in the 1940s. And it was called The Shame of Italy, because in these caves you would have mother, father, 6, 7 children, a cow, a couple of pigs, some chickens, all living in one cave with one tiny entrance hole to the outside world. There was rampant poverty and disease. And so the Italian government, as was common in this period, decided something had to be done. And they forced everyone out of the caves of Matera. People had been living here for 8,000 years. They built a new town right outside Matera, and they closed off the caves. And they laid abandoned for decades. They would sometimes take school groups to go see them, but people would try and move back. Some of the older people wanted to rehab that old lifestyle, so they eventually stoned them all up and closed the doors to them. It wasn't until the late 1980s, and really until the 1990s, that they decided we have this great heritage here in Matera. We need to rebuild it. We need to bring people back to the caves of Matera. And so it has been a major project for the last, really it started around the year 2000, the real movement in this project to repopulate the caves of Matera. And so we will all get to be troglodytes for 2 nights, because we will be going and staying in ancient caves that have literally been inhabited since the Stone Age. It is far and away the most unique hotel I've ever stayed in. It's probably my favorite hotel I've ever stayed in. It is unlike anything else. They've restored it with the emphasis on trying and making it as close to its origins as you could experience it. Now, I'll go through a couple photos. I have another photo of the gorge here. So again, this is the view from the hotel looking down into the gorge. And again, the caves on the right side. This is the main terrace of our hotel. And the breakfast room, which is here, is inside a deconsecrated former chapel from the 1200s. I had a photo of it in the slideshow, but then I took it out, because I want you to see it for yourselves when you come here. We're actually going to have everyone here to the terrace. Again, the gorge is right on this side. When we arrive, we'll have a small welcome reception, and then we'll be having dinner in the former chapel that is the main room of the hotel. Now, every room of the hotel is different, because they are all original caves. This is one of the rooms here that we wanted to show you, to try and give you a sense of what to expect at the hotel.
No.
It's a really remarkable place. They've tried to keep the walls as they were. You can see they tried to hide the lighting. A lot of it is candlelit. But I want to show you a few things. Each cave is going to be unique. We've tried to pair them to each of our travelers. You'll see that it's very basic, so there's no TVs, there's no telephones. They want it to be relaxing as possible. You can see this bathtub here, though, is inserted right into the room, so they've added some very luxurious touches. It's a very nice hotel. You're living in a cave, yes, but they've made sure it's a very nice hotel, absolutely. The nicest hotel.
Creature comforts are there.
It's 5-star
Yes,
compared
just-
to these, I know.
Right. And so we just wanted to show you this photo to give you a sense of what to expect. And so because it's not a hotel with standardized rooms, each one's going to be different. A couple things to point out. The light to the rooms generally come from the main door, or maybe 1 or 2 windows into the room. And so it's a low lighting environment. If anyone wants extra lighting in the room, they have extra lamps. They have some things like that. Some of the floors are uneven, so if you see here between the two different rooms, you see how it maintains the natural slope of the floor. And so when we're there, we keep a couple candles lit at night so we can find our way to the bathroom. But just know that it'll be a little dark, it'll be some uneven floors, but it is a unique experience that you're never going to forget. And the other thing that Blake just reminded me to mention is to get up to it, you'll have to walk up a flight and a half of stairs. And so I think we counted it, it's about 18 stairs to get to the lobby of it, and then some of the rooms will be another flight or two above that. The next day we're going to be doing a walking tour, and that will stay fairly flat, but as you saw, Matera is a city on a hillside. And so that's going to be a part of the experience, but we went back and forth, and we said there's no way we can leave Matera off an itinerary. We have to go there, and we just want to make sure to prepare people. So I can't wait to show you this hotel, but we just want to make sure you know that it's going to have a little uniqueness to it. We're here for 2 nights, which I think is the perfect amount of time to be a cave dweller, and then we'll move to a more standard hotel. Well, we'll arrive around sunset.
There's also a relatively new, but supposedly totally spectacular wine bar in Matera. It's in Sasso. And
One of the caves.
I plan to be there after one of the dinners.
Matera right now, we're getting there at the exact right time. It's the 2019 European Capital of Culture, which is something they pass around to highlight certain cities. For Matera, it's kind of an aspirational awarding of that title. So it's a city that's getting a lot of fine culture. And so there's some great restaurants in Matera in the most stunning settings you've ever eaten a dinner in. And so it's this great combination of very old, and the main town, though, the new town where the locals had been living, still exists too. So it's a great mix of the modern Italian creative hospitalities and the old charm of the city. Well, on our next day we're going to be doing a walking tour of town. We'll walk along the valley. We'll see these 2 churches that I pointed out before. You'll see that a lot of the churches in Matera maintain their original wall frescoes, some from the 12th and 13th centuries. And if you look at them, they look very Byzantine style, Orthodox style, because that was the main religion of the area. And before the Renaissance, this was how art was done. And so you'll see them on the walls of caves like this. One very, very cool exhibit they have only for 2019 is they have a great Salvador Dali sculpture exhibit in a 12th century church. And so here on the left you see one of Dali's sculptures with this fantastic background of 800-year-old wall frescoes. And so it's really a special thing. There's another place we'll show you as well where they see the traditional lifestyle. And so this is an example of one of the cave houses. And we'll see how the people lived in caves, how they collected water, how they made life work in this unique system. Well, we're going to have 2 nights in Matera. The first night we'll do dinner together at the hotel. The second night will be on your own. So Matera is the time, the day trip we'll do the walking tour will be in the morning. So you'll have a lot of time to explore on your own, which I think is the right way to experience Matera. And then after 2 nights in Matera, we will be heading to Puglia. Puglia is the heel of the boot. And Puglia is famous across all of Europe now for being the rustic heart of Italy. It's kind of like the Wild West of Italy. It's a place where there were once a lot of bandits, there were a lot of pirates that would maraud through the Mediterranean Sea and land in Puglia. And it is a very quintessentially countryside experience that we're excited to share with you. Now we're going to start in the capital of Puglia, in the town of Bari. Now, we're going to be visiting Bari on Sunday. We put a lot of thought into where we want it to be Sunday morning, because Sunday morning is the day that all the Italians go out. They get grandma, they get junior, they do a big stroll down the waterside promenade. And we visited Bari on a Sunday, and we found that the node of the walking strolls of the Barian families is the local fish market. And not only is it a fish market, but it is a raw food fish market. And so here along the harbor, the fishermen set up all of their catch, and all of it is uncooked. And so for those who are adventurous and have strong stomachs, you can try any of the objects here, from octopus and squid to prawns and oysters. I've done it and survived. My pregnant wife did it and survived. Probably not the best advice, but it's a great scene, even if you don't eat the food, just because it's incredibly lively. All of the old men are there playing cards. You see everyone has a €1 Peroni in their hand, and it's a place to gather and smoke your cigarettes and talk gossip along the waterside of Bari. So we'll take you there first. Then we're going to take you to the Church of St. Nicholas. And yes, it's back St. Nicholas. We will see the body of Santa Claus, which is in this church. This is the only church in all of Italy where you can have both a Catholic and an Orthodox service going on at the same time. Because the upper church is Catholic, and the crypt where St. Nick is buried is Orthodox. And it's a major pilgrimage site for Orthodox around the world. He's one of their major patron saints. And so we will see the Church of St. Nicholas, which has a very unique history. We'll walk through the streets of Old Bari, which is incredibly beautiful. You can see there on the left. And then we're going to stop at one of the celebrity chefs of Bari. He has a restaurant right on the main square, and we're going to have a nice lunch here. This is one of his dishes on the right. And after we made our plan for the day, I was reading a news article about the Pope's recent visit to Bari. He was there maybe a year ago. He went to the Church of St. Nicholas and then to this restaurant for lunch. So we're following the Pope's itinerary through Bari. Yeah. When we leave Bari, we're going to take a quick stop in one of the most iconic and unforgettable places in Italy, which is the conical city of Alberobello. Alberobello is the main hub of this unique style of building. This is called a Trulli house. And Trulli houses look like little gnome houses. If you want to build a dome out of rocks, you don't have lumber to use for your wood beams, and you don't have cement to make an arch, you stack rocks in this method and create a large domed space. And you'll see them all throughout the countryside, but Alberobello is the only town primarily made of, or has a few neighborhoods that are primarily made of these Trulli houses. And so we will take a visit here through Alberobello, and you can walk through the streets, and they have some nice crafts and things to shop for our little visit in Alberobello, before we go to our hotel for the final 3 nights of our main tour, which is in the Pulian countryside. And this is our masseria. A masseria is kind of like a plantation, except that they were fortified, which tells you about the history of the region. So it's a large, fortified, big house, essentially, that was also used as a farm. And so it's kind of like the missions in San Antonio, how they have a large, enclosed area where the landowners would live and they would operate the farm of the nearby region. Now this masseria is a traditional masseria from the 1600s that had fallen into decay until a woman named Maria, who's from the nearby town of Manduria, decided to restore it a couple of decades ago. And she has very lovingly put together every element of the masseria. It really reflects her and her style, which has this fantastic mix of old and new. You see here some of the things that she collects. She has a lot of tapestries. She also loves picking flowers, and so you'll see her grown flowers all across the masseria as it's set up. It's a beautiful place. We'll take up almost all of the masseria, and it has this ethereal white countryside charm to it that makes it one of the most unique places we've stayed. So we're very excited to take you there. This is one of the interiors of the room. So each room is different and lovingly restored, but it's a flat-floored hotel room. And this will be our base for 3 nights. We're going to have dinner here, either inside their beautiful dining room or outside in their beautiful courtyard. And we'll use it as our base to explore Puglia. Well, we'll have 2 full days in Puglia. Our first full day in Puglia, you're going to be able to choose from 2 of 3 options. And so we wanted to make the day so that you could choose your own adventure. And so I'll list all three of them, and again, you can choose any two that you would like to do. The first is a visit to the nearby town of Grottaglie. And Grottaglie is famous since the medieval period for its pottery. They are one of the premier ceramics towns in all of Italy. People still come from all Italy, they come from all Europe to shop in Grottaglie. The shop we're taking you to is a multi-generational family ceramics shop. They don't sell online, so the way to buy it is to go there. They make amazing things. There's the new generation who is designing with all of the, her uncle is the main craftsman and runs the workshop, so you'll see how they make everything, and then you'll see all that they have to offer. Anything that you like can be shipped back to the States, so it's a very unique opportunity to find things you won't find anywhere else. I'm not a shopper, I wanted to shop there. The second option is, if you like modern vases, well, the second option is for those who like ancient vases. I was telling you earlier about the Greeks who colonized southern Italy. The best museum of ancient Greek culture in all of Italy is in a nearby town of Taranto. And Taranto was the major Greek city of the region. It was actually founded by the Spartans. The Spartans only founded one colony, and it was the colony of Taranto. And so anyone who's interested can join me on a tour of the museum, where we'll see an amazing Greek pottery collection, which is one of the best ways to see ancient Greek two-dimensional art. We'll see golden artifacts and jewelry, we'll see armor and bronze work, and for history buffs, it is a one-of-a-kind experience. And the third of the two that you can choose from is to stay at the Masseria and do a cooking class with Maria. And so this is Maria here. Maria is somewhat of a celebrity chef. She's been on Italian television showing how to make bread. That's her specialty. The main food of Puglia is bread, and they put all sorts of goodies inside of it. And she has an amazing kitchen where she preserves all of the produce from her farm. And so her pantry is full of preserves and things that she stores throughout the year. So you can join her in the kitchen and take a bread making class with Maria, which is something I would highly recommend. So any two of those three, the ceramics workshop, the ancient Greek history museum, and the bread making class, you can choose on this day. In the evening, we're going to go to a nearby town and have dinner out in an old olive press that's been restored into a very nice, modern but rustic restaurant. And then on our final day together as a group, as the land portion, the main portion of the trip, we have a very exciting opportunity that we've been wanting to do with the Texas Exes for a long time, and that is to participate in the olive harvest. Now, it is dependent on when the olives are ready. This year it began at the beginning of October. We'll be there at the end of October, so I expect the olives to be ready. But we will literally be participating in the olive harvest. It's not just for jokes. We will be going into the fields of a nearby masseria, and we'll go see their ancient trees. They have trees that date back over 600 years old, but they don't pick from those trees. They let the olives drop. So we'll go to their only 100-year-old trees and pick olives off the trees ourselves. Everything that we pick, we will be able to gather together. You can see the nets down below here, and so you can just simply pull them off the tree. We'll gather up our olives, and we will head to their family-owned olive mill, where we will take our olives and put them through the entire process. And by the end of our day, you will see our olives being turned into the most neon green olive oil you've seen in your life, which is incredibly, incredibly flavorful. The main thing about olive oil is you want it fresh. And you will be able to actually bottle a little bit of this and take it home with you. So you'll see it from olives to olive oil by the end of our lunch. Now, this family also runs a winery, and so we'll sample their wines, we'll have a lunch. It will be a very fun final day together. Blake has a little gelato for us now to start us thinking Italian in our desserts. But this will be a really fun day. We're very excited about it because Puglia is the main olive oil region in Italy, and they've been doing this for thousands of years. Since the time of the Greeks, they've been producing olive oil in the end of October. And so we'll get to be a part of that just for one day. And then that evening, we will gather together in the masseria, and I just wanted to give you another photo. This is one of the outside spaces in our masseria. And so you see it's done up in the way that only Maria can. And we'll have a final dinner. We'll have some local musicians come and join us. And they will show us one of the famous dances and musical styles of the region, which I think you'll find quite interesting and different than maybe how you think of Italian music. Well, the next day, a few of us will be departing. A few people will be going to Rome in order to catch their flight back. The rest of us will be heading on to the island of Sicily. And we will be going to Taormina, Sicily. Now, this is a photo from our hotel in Taormina. I will be forthright and say that Taormina, Sicily does not necessarily fit the Undiscovered banner of the rest of Italy, but for an extension, I think we were allowing that one to slide in, because Taormina is one of these remarkable places on the planet, like the Amalfi Coast, like a Santorini, that's built in this unique vista. Taormina used to be a very sleepy town. It was founded by the Greeks, actually. I'll show you a photo in a minute of the Greek theater. But it fell into, the people who lived here were mainly shepherds or fishermen who would stay up above until the late 1800s, when it started to be discovered again by Italians of the upper class. And the very first hotel built in Taormina was the hotel we're staying in, which is the Grand Hotel Tomeo. It's the Grand Dam Hotel of Taormina, Sicily. And so this is from their breakfast area. Here's another photo of the main terrace, where we will gather together for our first evening and have a group dinner together, overlooking, you can see Mount Etna here in the distance, and overlooking the water of the coast. Now, all of our rooms at the hotel will have sea view, so you'll get to enjoy this view. Our hotel is located just beneath, probably the most amazing sight you will ever see in ancient theater. This is the ancient Greek theater of Taormina, which dates to the 500s BC, which is literally directly above our hotel. The first day in Taormina, we're going to do a walking tour through town in the morning. We'll go to the Greek theater first. There are views this direction and the other direction as well. Then we'll walk through Taormina, which is still a very sleepy town. And we'll be there in October, which is the perfect time, because it gets very busy, especially during the summer months when people head to the islands. But October will be starting to end the season, and it will be going back to being a small town in the Sicilian countryside. And so it's a great time to visit. The weather should be fantastic. This is the main square of town. You see the church and the hillside in the background. We'll do a walking tour up through lunch. In the afternoon, anyone who's interested, the second optional activity, I'll go through 3 on the trip. The first was Pompeii. The second is to take an afternoon cannoli making class, which is a lot of fun. And so we will make all elements of a cannoli, from the shells to the cream inside. We'll deep fry them, and you will have a freshly made cannoli, or 10 freshly made cannolis that you can put your different toppings on. It's a lot of fun, and once you learn how to do it, you realize it's simple and a great way to experience it on Sicily with the help of an Italian chef. Our hotel also has a sister property down on the water side, and so there is a shuttle that goes, I think, every 30 minutes, every hour. There's also a funicular that takes you down here, but this is our sister property, and so you can see the beach down here. If you wanted to go by the water side or just have a great lunch at their restaurant here, it is a beautiful spot to do so. Just around the corner, if you walk around the corner, you can see this is called the Beautiful Island, which is in the water just off. And you can see the beach here. Sometimes this is above ground, sometimes it's a foot underwater. And we'll have that first day just to enjoy the town of Taormina. On our next day, our next full day, we have the opportunity to take the third optional activity, one that we really highly recommend. It's a unique experience, but we're very excited about it. It is to each of us rent a classic Fiat 500 car and go through the countryside of Sicily to visit 2 sites that were in the filming of the original Godfather movie. And so it's a combination of 2 unique things. I'll speak to the Fiats first. These are all vintage Fiats from the 1970s. meaning that they have very few bells and whistles inside, no seat belts inside. They do have sunroofs. They are quite fun to drive, especially on the winding hills of the Sicilian countryside. But it will be a very fun experience, and the places we're going are stunningly beautiful. So the real mafia culture of Sicily is out in the west, by Palermo. That's where the real mafia would have taken place, but when Francis Ford Coppola came, he went to Palermo. It wasn't what he visioned. So they said, why don't you go look at the beautiful cities in the east of Sicily? And so he came to Taormina and saw these sites, and this is the Sicily he wanted to put in his movie. And so we will see a couple of the sites filmed in The Godfather. And when you visit it, coming up through this valley here, it is a really beautiful experience. Now, in order to do this, you need to drive stick. You can put 2 people in a car. There's technically a back seat, but I wouldn't put anyone older than the age of 5 in the back seat of a It is a pricier thing to do, but something that we really, really recommend because you'll never get another opportunity to drive a Fiat like this, and the site itself is simply beautiful. And it will be a fun day trip. When we leave Sicily on the following day, on our way to the airport, we're going to be flying to Rome so that people can fly out of Rome. So we'll have 3 nights in Taormina. Our 4th night is going to be in Rome. And so on the beginning of our 4th day, we'll head to the airport. Our flight's at about 4. And so that morning, we are going to take you to the countryside of Mount Etna. This is, you can't see everything but the slopes of Mount Etna here, to an organic winery on the eastern slopes of Mount Etna. And we're going to see the vineyards there. We will see their old wine press room that is still maintained. And then we're going to have a modern lunch there, final lunch together as a group, and get to try the organic wines of this fantastic winery. We will then make our way to the airport. We will fly to Rome. We'll get in right about dinner time, and then folks will fly out of Rome the next morning. So, this is our Undiscovered Italy tour. I will just say in closing, thank you very much. Yeah.
The weather will be better.
I'll just say in closing that we've been planning this trip for years, and literally we think of each of you when we plan this trip. Those who are past travelers, we think about, okay, how's John going to like this? What will Bill and Trini want to do here? And we couldn't be happier with the group of travelers that have registered for this trip. We know most of them. We've met others who we didn't know before, and we have a great group of people that are all, I think, have that same spirit of adventure, that are excited to go further into Italy than perhaps many people do. And so we think it's this perfect marriage, and we can't wait to share it with you. We're going to hand out these. These are your pre-tour information booklets. We'll hand out one per couple. And these, I'll walk you through them. This will give you all of the information that you will want for before the trip.
That was very good gelato.
That was good.
Amazing gelato.
We'll get better.
Get better.
It was
Yeah,
lemon
we'll get
cream
better, yeah.
was the flavor.
Oh,
If anyone wants a digital version, we can send you a digital version as well. But if you flip inside, you'll see our welcome letter on the table of contents. First up is our hotel list that lists our 3 main hotels in Naples, Matera, and Puglia, and then the Sicily extension, our main hotel, and then the hotel in Rome at the airport. We have a packing list on the back side. Of the packing list, I'm just going to highlight that we have said that you should try and bring a small carry-on, if you bring a carry-on at all. If you can get away without bringing a carry-on or something that's more of a backpack, we would recommend that. If you have something that's smaller, maybe one between 2 people, the main thing with the carry-on is something that you can carry easily. So when we get to Matera, you'll have to go up a flight or half of steps, as we were saying. And so in that scenario, we just want to make sure that people aren't overburdened with clothes. The general attire for the trip, as we say here, is casual wear. And so no need to bring a lot of fancy things that you can kind of layer throughout the day. The weather in October should be fantastic. The day should be sunny. I think we have the actual weathers here. Yeah, the main temperatures in southern Italy range from 55 to 75. So the days will be perfect. They'll be sunny, so hat, sunscreen is worthwhile. And then the evenings, generally it cools down, especially in Naples when we're by the coast. Cold air comes through, and having a light jacket, having a scarf, having a raft is a good idea. But the weather should be very nice. If you can get away with bringing a small carry-on, I think you will appreciate that. Comfortable shoes. We stress this now more than ever, especially in a city like Matera that is a carved into the side of a hillside. You'll want your best walking shoes. If you are deciding between the cute shoes and the good shoes, bring the good shoes. There's not two questions about it. You will be very happy if you bring your most comfortable walking shoes. And walk in your shoes if they're new before coming. Most everything else is self-explanatory. We're going to be sending you a guidebook as well. So if you've been on one of our tours, you've gotten our fill-in-the-blank guidebook with maps and lecture notes and things like that. We'll be mailing you that before the trip. And then a little bit on money. We always recommend people get money out of ATMs. It's a lot better than bringing dollars and exchanging them. You generally get a better rate when you pull money out of an ATM. So just check with your bank if they have a partner bank in Italy. Now, if you continue, we have 2 pages. One is what to read list. There are a couple of neat things. One is a very famous new series of books called the Neapolitan novels. That's the 4th one you see there, by an anonymous modern Italian writer talking about 2 girls growing up in Naples. There's a neat book called Naples 44, a diary of the occupation of Naples at the end of World War II. And then a book called The Leopard, which is probably the most famous Sicilian book. It's a slower book, but I really recommend it. And then we have a what to watch list as well. So if you would rather watch some movies or TV shows to get a sense of the Southern Italian life, we have a list here and how to access them. And so that Neapolitan novel series I was just talking about, they've just started making it into a mini-series on HBO. The first season just came out. The Godfather, of course. There's a great series which you can get on Amazon with a little extra subscription called Detective Montalbano. And he is the crime solver of Sicily. And it's huge in Italy, and it's huge internationally as well. It gives you a really good flavor for life in southern Italy. The next page has a list of the 3 optional activities that you will need to sign up for before the tour. So we're going to be sending you an email in about a week or 2 that will direct you to a few things. It'll direct you to the online information form, which many of you have done in the past. You can tell us things about your emergency contacts, your food preferences, things like this. But then you'll also sign up for the 3 optional activities by the end of May. And so the first one is to join us in Pompeii and Naples. If you don't, you'll have a free day in Naples, and we'll give you recommendations for what to do. But if you haven't been to Pompeii and Naples, we highly recommend that. The second is the cannoli making class on the extension, which is short. It's a couple of hours. And then the final one is the Fiat 500 Godfather tour. It's more expensive, but it's definitely worth it, and we recommend that one. If you keep going, we have a small section just telling you the important dates. So by the end of May, fill out the information form and select your optional activities. We'll have a payment deadline for the optional activities, and then we're going to be sending you all of your documents in September. So that'll be your tour study guide, that will be luggage tags, that'll be any flight information. If you went through us, you'll get another copy of that as well. You'll get your final documents in September. And then we added a section on how to prep your phone. Aaron was talking about it. Having modern day apps like Google Maps and Google Translate are amazing. It's the sci-fi of 30 years ago has come true, that you can use Google Translate to speak to people very easily. It will translate for you in real time. And if you want to get data, we can help you easily get data in Italy for 20, 30 euros if you don't mind switching out your SIM card. Google Maps is incredibly helpful. Even if you don't get data, you can download Google Maps, you can download city maps for Naples, Matera, and Taormina. And then even if you're not on data, it will show you with GPS where you are in Naples. So even if you're on airplane mode, it'll show you exactly where you are. You can star the hotel, and then you're never at fear of getting too terribly lost. Again, and if you have data, then you can actually use it and it'll tell you how to walk to get home. You know, it's really remarkable. And then lastly, our itinerary. We have it written here. We have one page telling about each of the 4 cities, each of the 4 areas, Naples, Matera, Puglia, and Taormina, Sicily. And then we go through the itinerary day by day. So you have Naples Day, Matera Day, Puglia, Sicily. And that's that. Well,
Well done.
thank you very much. Do folks have questions on the trip?
If we're driving, do we need insurance?
For the Fiat 500 day, I don't even think they looked at our driver's license when
They will, yeah, they
They-
have their own.
they want you to have an
System, but
American
we'll have it for
driver's
the group.
license, and that'll be all. Yeah, something.
So, we can take a suitcase and carry-on.
Yes, absolutely. The
We
suitcase?
don't have to have all our clothes in one carry-on.
No.
No, not at all. So
Okay.
you'll have your checked luggage suitcase.
Okay,
The
And
carry-on is what we
The
recommend.
porters will always take care of
The
your.
porters will take
Okay.
your
Checked
big
luggage.
bag from the bus to your hotel room. You'll be responsible for your carry-on. And since you'll have to go up some stairs to get to your room, since you'll have to walk a little bit in the masseria,
Okay.
we recommend making it manageable.
So up the stairs you're talking about was with.
I couldn't see
carry-on.
you packing.
Just your carry-on. Yes.
Not
Not
carry-on
good,
plus
yeah.
the check.
That's right, and it says it there in the pack list that you'll have hotel porterage for your checked luggage, and then anything else you bring will be your own, so that's why we recommend a smaller carry-on, because it's not in and out of the hotel, it's up a
Gotcha.
staircase.
okay. Thank
Mhm.
you. Yay.
I just finished a book today that was sort of interesting. It's called The Land Where the Lemons Grow. Have you?
No, I haven't read it.
It was recommended by one of these things as a book you should read about it.
Yeah,
But it's totally through the view of lemons
Lemons and oranges.
and oranges.
Wow.
But it has a lot of focus on Sicily and the mafia and Calabria, which we will not be going to. But it was a pretty interesting read. It gave a lot of emphasis on the history of the Arabs on
Yeah.
Sicily,
Yeah.
and as well as the Spanish.
I think that's a thing that you're going to find when we go to southern Italy, that its history has been so much more tumultuous than the rest of northern Italy. Everyone who has conquered through the Mediterranean has left their stamp there. So it's starting with the Greeks, and then it's the Arabs, and then it's the Spanish and the French, North Africans. Everyone has come through this land and left their imprint on it. And so it's an amalgam of different cultures and tastes and experiences. And it feels like its own country.
Yeah, they point out vividly that in Calabria, as you go south out into Calabria, you get languages that are totally alien to the
Yeah.
rest of the planet.
They still speak Greek in Puglia. There are a few
In some
towns where they
places.
still speak Greek.
And they speak a version of supposedly Northern African dialect
Yeah.
in parts
Yeah.
of Calabria as well.
Mhm. Yeah.
And Albania.
Yeah, a lot of Albanians came through.
Are there not as many Roman ruins in southern Italy because of Sparta being down there and they weren't really builders like the northern?
Well, that was, like when we go to Paestum, it was a Greek city and then it became a Roman city. So we'll see both of them on top of each other.
So there's some Roman architecture.
There's a lot, yeah. There aren't big sites. The biggest site is Pompeii. So that'll be our main foray into Roman civilization. We'll actually have more opportunity to see ancient Greek civilization than Roman civilization. Yeah, we'll see a little in Sicily. Yeah, but not much else. Well, everyone, to finish off our evening, we're talking about lemons. And when we go to Naples, one thing I forgot to mention that we're going to do on our walking tour of Naples is go to a limoncello making workshop where they produce their own limoncello. And so we have a little bit of that to do our final toast with. Feel free to finish the wine that we have here. And let's thank our hosts once
Yes.
again for letting us do this.
Easy to get a party when others bring everything.
Well, you have a beautiful house.
Thank you.
Yes.
We enjoy it.
Perfect for parties. We
People
might
have
be back.
many, yeah, right. Yeah, afterwards, we'll have a recap
That's
party.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll look at our own pictures.
Right.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you, Jay.
Because the only person who knew where it was.
Yeah. I tried to hide it.
Yeah, it is true that many of our neighbors don't have any idea what our house is like inside. Because their houses are still in the early 70s.